Mother Nature is the biggest uncontrollable factor when it comes to professional sports. No other sport feels the wrath of the weather more than motorsports, specifically NASCAR. While NASCAR is making great strides in combating Mother Nature, there are still venues that the slightest bit of moisture will bring a race to a screeching halt. As NASCAR fans, we know the pain of getting super excited for race day for it only to get delayed or ultimately shortened due to the weather. But just how often does Mother Nature impact the end of our races? Hi, I'm your host Matt, and this is a special Dogleg Media production. In this video, I look at just how many times since the modern era of NASCAR that weather has caused a race to end prematurely. We look at which drivers have benefited the most from the weather, which tracks have been impacted the most, and some memorable weather moments from you, the viewers. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop. I post history-themed content every single week. But with that intro out of the way, let's take a look at Mother Nature's beef with NASCAR. So before we get into the data, I want to clear up the specifics that we will be looking at. We are only looking at races that were called official before the scheduled distance. We won't be covering races that were postponed to another day. Also, we will only be covering races since the beginning of the modern era of NASCAR. For those of you who don't know, that is 1972 to the current day. When researching data for the pre-modern era, I couldn't find consistent records, and I want to be as historically accurate as possible. I cross-reference multiple sources before putting it in a video, and if there are any discrepancies, I tend not to use that data in my videos. The honorable mentions portion will have a pre-modern era occurrence featured, as it is historically accurate and very interesting. There have been 57 total weather-shortened races in the modern era, and we are all set to discuss them. Alright, with those details out of the way, let's first look at which tracks have been affected the most by Mother Nature. Alright, so before we get to the tracks that have had races shortened, let's talk about those incredible tracks that never have a rainout. Indianapolis, Sonoma, Homestead, and Dover are the current tracks that have never had a single race shortened due to the weather. So if you want to go to a race without the worry of a rainout, visit one of those. And oddly enough, Chicagoland, while not on the schedule currently, didn't have a single rainout in its 19 race time on the Cup Series schedule. However, in the Chicago Street Race's historic inaugural weekend, the city saw near record levels of rain. I mean, there were literally tires floating down pit road. However, that race wasn't shortened due directly to the rain. We will get into that in the next section. And now we get to the tracks with only one rainout. Let's get the road courses out of the way, because we have 3 on this list. I want to start with the road courses because we now have a wet weather package for them to help combat the rain. And for the most part, it would take a lot for there to be a rain-shortened race. Watkins Glen is up first, and it has only ever had one rainout since 1972, which is pretty impressive. COTA also has one, and unfortunately it doesn't have a great track record with its short time on the schedule. And finally there's the Chicago Street Course. Here's the issue that road courses will more than likely run into with shortened events. They can run laps with the wet weather package. The issue comes with daylight. These tracks do not have lights, and I'm assuming for the street race the street lights weren't enough or they were worried about the noise. Anyone who can answer that, let me know down below. Why did they have to shorten the street race? In terms of ovals, there are 4 tracks here, with 3 of them currently on the schedule. Those tracks with one shortened event are Kansas, Las Vegas, Fontana, and Texas. Also, rest in peace Fontana, they did you wrong. And now on to the tracks with 2 shortened events, and we have some historic tracks here. Bristol, Charlotte, and surprisingly Phoenix are the venues with 2. For Bristol to only have 2 is honestly surprising to me. It seems like the spring date always has weather issues. And Phoenix having 2 is also kind of surprising, because at least to me, I think of Phoenix in the middle of the desert. There are 2 tracks with 3 rainouts, a super speedway, and a short track. Talladega is one of those tracks, and it recently had a shortened event in 2021. Richmond is the other, and honestly this isn't surprising. I do remember quite a few wet weekends there. There are also 2 tracks with 4 rain-shortened races, both relatively small. The Paperclip, Martinsville, and New Hampshire are those tracks. New Hampshire had a couple of drivers get their first career wins at the track after a shortened race, and we'll get to those shortly. Now we move to the tracks that have had 5 shortened races, and we have 3 of them, with one of them joining that club this year. Michigan, Daytona, and Atlanta are all tied with 5 apiece. Michigan always seems to have issues with rain, including this year. Luckily, they were able to finish that race this year. Daytona is in Florida, and it always rains in Florida. I don't know how Homestead got as lucky as it did, but Daytona could use some of that. And finally, there's Atlanta. It is the most recent weather-shortened race, and man did that one suck. The Summer Atlanta race in 2023 was shaping up to be quite possibly the best race of the season. It was definitely one of the most bumming rainouts in recent memory for me. Also, Atlanta is the only race I have been to in person that has been postponed by weather. In sole possession of second place is Pocono. The Pennsylvania track has had a total of 7 races shortened by the weather, 6 of those due to rain, and 1 being a very odd act of nature. Chris Buescher would win a fog-shortened race in 2016. A thick fog rolled into the area, impeding visibility heavily. After a very long delay, the track not having lights ultimately led to NASCAR calling the race official, and Buescher would claim his first career win thanks to Mother Nature. And here it is. The track that has had the most weather-shortened races is Darlington. With 8 total races shortened by rain, it is crowned the rainiest track in NASCAR. I do remember being at the Southern 500 in 2015, and there was some rain before the race, but luckily it cleared in time for it. Its last rainout came in 2020 during the COVID year. Darlington also had both of its 1999 runnings shortened due to the weather, and to make matters even crazier, the same driver won both of those races. Also, I feel like I should be talking about the climate for each of these tracks, but I'm not a weatherman. If any of y'all have a good reason why these tracks are hit the most, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Alright, now let's break it down to which drivers have benefited the most from Mother Nature's beef with NASCAR. We will start with the drivers to get their first or only wins in a shortened event. There have been 9 drivers get their first career win in a weather-shortened race. We start with Davey Allison. The Hall of Famer would get his first career win in 1987 at Talladega. The race would only be cut 10 laps short due to darkness, making 178 of the scheduled 188 laps. Obviously, Davey would find victory lane plenty after this first win, but it would come courtesy of the Alabama sun setting just a bit early. Ryan Newman is next, and he would get his first career win at New Hampshire in 2002 after a rain shower would prematurely end the race. The same with Davey. Newman was no stranger to victory lane in his career, but he joins the Rainy Victory Celebration Club. David Rudiman would also get his first win in a rain-shortened race, coming in 2009 at the Coke 600. Rudy would find victory lane under green flag conditions the next season at Chicagoland, at least showing he could get it done the traditional way as well. And now we have a champion who got their first career win thanks to the rain. Joey Logano would join Ryan Newman as the other driver to get their first career win on a rainy New Hampshire afternoon. This win came in 2009, the same season that Rudiman would get his first career win thanks to rain as well. 5 to go, and we have Eric Almirola. The longtime Smithfield driver would get his first of 3 career wins at Daytona in 2014. The Coke 0400 would be called official on lap 112 of the scheduled 160 laps. This win would come for Richard Petty Motorsports, breaking a long winless drought for the 43. Up next, we go to the previously mentioned fog winner Chris Buescher. He would win the bizarre fog race in 2016 at the Tricky Triangle. Buescher is now a 5-time winner in the Cup Series, thanks in large part to a breakout 2023 campaign. With RFK getting better every year, he is emerging as a serious title threat. 3 more, and now we have Justin Haley. This was a major upset when it happened. Justin wasn't a full-time driver at the time, but he would get his first and still only career win in his 3rd Cup Series start. This is still the only win for Spire Motorsports as a team. With Haley headed to Rick Ware and the improvements happening at Spire, who do you think gets another win first, Haley or Spire? And on to the penultimate first-time winner. It's Alabama's own Bubba Wallace. This was a special win. Coming at his home state track, Bubba would get it done at Talladega in 2021. He would prove his ability to get it done under green flag conditions the next season, dominating the Fall Kansas race. Look for Bubba to get back to victory lane after a winless 2023. And finally, we have my new favorite driver. It's the Kiwi, Shane Van Gisbergen. Call me a bandwagon, but man, what I saw him do at the Chicago Street Race was magical. The Supercars champion would be the winner of the inaugural street race after a soaking wet weekend in the Windy City. NASCAR would shorten the race from the scheduled 100 laps to 78 due to concerns with daylight and visibility. Hopefully we get much better weather next season with this one. And that wraps up all the first-time winners due to Mother Nature interfering. Now let's look at which drivers have benefited the most from the weather. We start with the drivers who only have one total weather shortened win. There are 29 of them, so I will be doing a lightning round for these guys for time's sake. The one-time winners are David Pearson, Dave Marcus, Tim Richmond, Davey Allison, Dale Earnhardt, Dale Jr., Kyle Petty, Mark Martin, Bobby Labonte, Bill Elliott, Chase Elliott, Ryan Newman, Joe Nemechek, Michael Waltrip, Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, David Rudiman, Joey Logano, Eric Almirola, Chris Buescher, Carl Edwards, Justin Haley, Clint Boyer, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, SVG, and William Byron. That was a very long list of drivers. Now let's get to the guys who have benefited multiple times. There are 2 drivers with 2 rain-shortened wins. Sterling Marlin would win at Daytona in 1996 and Michigan in 2001. Richard Petty would also have 2, with his wins coming at Martinsville in 1973 and Pocono in 1974. And surprisingly, 5 drivers have 3 rain-shortened wins. Rusty Wallace would win at Pocono in 91, Martinsville in 95, and Phoenix in 1998. Jeff Burton would win both of the rain-shortened races at Darlington in 1999, and then would win the lone shortened Vegas race in 2000. Tony Stewart would win at Michigan in 2000, New Hampshire in 2000, and Fontana in 2012. Kurt Busch's 3 would come at Atlanta in 2002, New Hampshire in 2008, and finally Michigan in 2015. And lastly, Kel Yarborough would notch his 3 at Martinsville in 1976, Richmond in 77, and Martinsville in 77 as well. Sitting alone in second place with 4 rain-shortened wins is Darrell Waltrip. He would earn weather-impacted races at Atlanta in 1977 and 1982, Bristol in 1983, and Darlington in 1992. And that brings us to Mother Nature's best friend in the NASCAR garage, Jeff Gordon, with 5 rain-shortened victories. These wins would happen at Bristol in 96, Talladega in 96, Atlanta in 98, and Pocono in 2007 and 2012. Of course, Jeff would win 93 times, so only 5% of those wins came courtesy of the weather. Now let's move to some memorable weather moments from you, the viewer. Miguel mentioned the 1993 Motorcraft 500 at Atlanta. This was a wild race weekend that was delayed nearly a week due to the 1993 storm of the century. It dumped massive amounts of snow on the southeast United States. While the race wasn't shortened, it was still super significant. Great mention, Miguel. And then the gamer suggested the 1956 Dust Bowl that happened at Tulsa. While this was before the modern era, it is an awesome story. NASCAR's attempt at racing in Oklahoma was aborted after a massive dust storm would roll through the area. In the early days of NASCAR, many races were red flagged and made official due to dust. However, this race at Tulsa in 1956 was the only one that was started, stopped, and then canceled. Great mention, gamer. And that'll do it for this Dogleg Media special. It was fun to go back and see how weather has played a part in our sport's history. It was also nice to have a shorter video after last week's States video. Man, that was a long one. As always, I'm prone to leaving out drivers and moments. Let me know your favorite weather-related moments down below. If you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe. It helps a ton and I definitely appreciate it. And did you know that 75% of my viewers aren't subscribed, but they are returning viewers? If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? I want to thank the Dogleg team for their hard work to make the channel and community as great as it can be. Thanks Darksy, Dice, Nino, Chili, Elite, and the Gamer. Y'all rock. Also, be sure to join the Discord server as well. Find the invite in the About section of the channel or the description below. We have over 170 members, and there are great conversations every single day. You don't want to miss this. But that'll do it for us here at Dogleg Media. I'm Matt, your host, and you've been watching Mother Nature's Beef with NASCAR. I'll see you next time.